Morning all. Welcome to lecture 5 of module 1 in database management system. So today we are going to discuss about the topic structured, semi-structured and unstructured data, and also about data models. So these are very important topics. Let us see in detail. So data. So what do you mean by a data? That we have already discussed earlier. So data is a known fact. Data is known facts that can be recorded. So this definition we have already seen in the first sessions. So this data can be classified into three types. The first one is structured data, semi-structured data, and unstructured data. Okay, so what do you mean by structured data, semi-structured, and unstructured? So from the name itself, it is clear that structured data means it is well organized data. Semi-structured means it is not as well organized as the structured data, but we can easily store the data. Okay, unstructured means not at all in a structured format. Clear? So let us see the details. Structured data. Here the data is well organized, either in the form of tables or some other way. So data can be well organized if we can store the data in the form of tables. That is a systematic way of storing data. Okay, if the data need to be well organized, we can store the data in the form of table. Okay, so that is why it is saying that the data is well organized in structured data, either in the form of a tables or some other way. Okay. So if we are storing this data in the form of a table, we can easily access the data, or we can easily search the data. Okay, in a systematic way we can search and access the data. Okay, so searching and accessing information from such data is very easy. Suppose we are storing the students' details in the form of a table, we can very well search that data from the table using some searching techniques. Okay, so that is why it is saying that searching and accessing information from such data is very easy. Okay, the example of such structured data is a relational database. So relational database is nothing but the data stored in the form of tables. That is called a relational database. Okay, so relational database is nothing but the data stored in the form of tables. Okay, now spreadsheet also is another example for structured data. Spreadsheet is nothing, our Excel is similar to our Excel sheet. The Excel in the Microsoft Office, we are aware about the spreadsheet. Similarly, the spreadsheet are similar to that concept. Okay, so these are the examples for a structured data, relational database. So relational database is nothing but data stored in the form of tables. Okay, so structured data means it is well organized, it is in the form of tables and can easily access and search it. Okay, now semi-structured data. So semi-structured data doesn't reside in a relational database. That is, it is not residing in a table, but have some organizational properties. Okay, they are somehow they have organized in a better way, but it is not stored in the form of tables. That is called semi-structured data. Okay, so semi-structured data is information that doesn't reside in a relational database but have some organizational properties that make it easier to analyze. Clear? So that even though it is not stored in a table, it has some organizational property that will be easy to analyze the data. If we want to access the data, or we want to search the data, we can do it. Okay, so that is known as analyzing. Okay, analyzing is easy in the semi-structured data also. Clear? So that is the difference between structured and semi-structured. Okay, the next point is it is difficult to store and retrieve. It is not much easier as compared to the structured data. In structured data, it is very easy since it is stored in table. We can very well access it and store and retrieve it. But in the case of semi-structured data, it is not possible. Okay, so it is difficult to store and retrieve. These data can be stored in the database after processing. So we want to store in the database, or if we want to store such information, semi-structured data into a database or into a relational database, we have to process it. Only after processing we'll be able to store it in the relational database. Okay, so semi-structured data cannot be stored in a database. Okay, because it is not having a systematic way of storing, because it is not stored in the form of table. Okay, rather it is stored in some other manner, but that manner, that storage mechanism, that storage system is it does not have any systematic property, and it is difficult to store and retrieve also. Okay, so that is the semi-structured. This data can be stored in the database, so such data can be stored in the database only after processing it. Clear? So example of such semi-structured data are CSV, okay, comma separated value, CSV, XML, extended markup language, and web data such as JSON. JSON is nothing but JavaScript object notation. These are the examples of semi-structured data. Okay. Now the third one, unstructured data. This is not at all organized. There does not have any organization property. Okay, that is not at all in an organized way. It is very difficult to access. Okay, such data is called unstructured data. So data which is not organized in a predefined manner. It is not either stored in a table or any other organized manner. Okay, it is not stored in any organized manner, and it is not fit for any relational database. So in semi-structured, we have told that we can store this in a relational database, or can we store it in a database after processing it. Okay, but this is not possible in unstructured data. We cannot do any processing and store it in the relational database. So that is why it is saying that it is not fit for relational database. It means that it is not fit for to store it in the form of tables. So relational database means table form. So examples are, it includes text, multimedia content, for example, email messages, word processing documents, videos, photos, audio files, presentation, web pages, etc. These are the examples of unstructured data. A simple example is a Word document. We are typing a letter. Suppose we are typing a letter to our principal. That is an unstructured data. We cannot store that data in the form of table. Clear? So such information is called unstructured data. So these three concepts can be more cleared with this figure. Please listen. So this is structured data. As I have said, that the data will be stored in the form of relational database. Relational database means tables. Okay, so here we are storing the student details, student ID, name, age, and degree. The same data we are storing it in the semi-structured data. Okay, this is a semi-structured data. Okay, they don't have any organizational property like the relational database, but they are organized in such a way that we can analyze it. Okay, we can analyze the data, but we cannot easily store or retrieve the data. That is called semi-structured data. So this is a semi-structured form. So this language is called XML language. Okay, XML means extended markup language. So here they have defined a header university. Under the header university, it is having student ID 1, and the name is John, age 18, degree BSc. Okay, then they are closing the student tag. Okay, first they are opening the university tag, then under that university tag they are opening the student tag. Okay, now under the student tag they are writing these informations: name, age, and degree. Okay, so name, they have, for entering the name they have to start with the name tag, then write the name, then close the name tag. Okay, closing means the tag followed by a backslash, that is known as closing the tag. Okay, similarly age tag they have opened, written 18 and close the age tag. Degree, they have opened the degree tag, then BSc, then close the degree tag. Okay, so first record is over. So since the first record is over, they will close that student tag. Okay, so the first record is complete. Now the second record, to enter the second record, they will start with the next one, student record. They will again open the tag. Okay, then write the name, age, degree, and again close it. So this continues. So this is called XML or extended markup language. So this is called this is an example for a semi-structured data. Okay, so this is not as convenient as the structured data because it is not stored in the form of tables. Clear? Now next one is unstructured data. Look at here. This type of data, this is a statement. Okay, this is like a sentence that we are typing in a word processor. The university has 5600 students. John ID is the number 1 and he is 18 years old and already holds BSc degree. David ID number is 2. So these are statements. This is unstructured data. These data cannot be converted in the form of this table or relational database. But XML, this XML can be converted in the form of the relational database. That is why it is saying that in order to store this into database, we have to process it. But this unstructured data is not at all possible to convert it to the relational or a structured data to store in the database. So this data, this cannot be stored in our database. Okay, so such information is called unstructured data. Okay, semi-structured data and structured data. Okay, so hope you are clear with the topic. Now next topic is data models. So what do you mean by data models? So data models means that modeling a data. From the name itself we can say like that, modeling a particular data. Okay, that is not the actual definition. The actual definition is that it is a collection of conceptual tools or collection of concepts that can be used to describe the database structure. That is, we can have different ways of representing database. Okay, we can have different ways of representing data into a database. Okay, so data model will describe the different structures of a database. In what all way we can store data. That is called data models. So let us see the definition. So data models are collection of concepts or conceptual tools. You can also write concepts or tools that can be used to describe the structure of a database. Okay, it is a tool or it is a concept or it is a representation that can be used to describe the structure of the database. So what do you mean by structure of the database? Okay, structure means the data structure. That's the structure means the data types. Okay, structure of a database means that the data types, the type of the data that can be stored in the database, the relationship with the different databases, the constraints or the rules that can hold on the data. For example, we are creating a database called student. There we are having 3 attributes or 3 fields: student ID, name, and roll number. Okay, so student ID must be having the data type integer, student name must be having the data type name, and mark must be having the data type float. Okay, so that is a structure. Clear? Now we can say we can give a constraint such that the mark field should not be empty. That is a constraint. Or a roll number field should not be made empty. So that is a constraint. Okay, now relationship means we can connect 2 tables. Okay, connect 2 tables and create a relationship. We will discuss in the forthcoming slides. Okay, now you just memorize the concept of data model. So data model is actually the concept of describing the structure of a database. How we can store data in a database. In what all ways we can store the data in a database. Okay, so collection of tools or concepts that can be used to describe the structure of the database. Structure means the data types, relationship, or the constraints that hold on the data. Okay, now along with that, data model also tells the basic operations for specifying retrieval and updation on the database. Okay, as I said that the data model, first concept is what data model will describe the structure of the database. Along with that, it also tells the operations we can perform on the database to retrieve and update. Okay, suppose if we want to retrieve information, okay, how that retrieval happens or how we can retrieve the data. Okay, suppose we want to update a database, so how we can do it? So those operations are specified in this data models. Okay, so data models also specify those things, basic operations for specifying retrieval and update on the database. So that is called a data model. So this is the definition for a data model. Okay, so when data model is asked, or they will ask to explain about the different categories of the data models. Okay, if they ask so, you have to first give the definition of the data model. Okay, then you have to give the classification. So what are the different classifications of data model? So data model is classified into three: conceptual model, representational model, and physical model. Okay, conceptual model is the high level model. Conceptual model, or it is also called a high level model. Now representational model or implementation model, it is also called implementation model. Now third one is physical model. Physical model is also called a low level model. Okay, so these are the three categories. So categories of data model. So every database and DBMS is based on a particular data model. Okay, so every database is created based on a particular data model. Based on that data model, we are creating a database. Okay, so what are those models? That is what we are going to explain. There are mainly three categories of the data model: high level or conceptual data model. So high level or conceptual data model, this is the model in the user's perspective. This is the model in the way the users view a system or users view a data, which is called high or conceptual data model. Now representational or implementational model. Okay, now the last one is a low level or physical data model. So let us explain these three categories in detail. The representational model is subdivided into hierarchical data model, relational data model, and network data model. Okay, so these are the categories of data model. This is very important. Okay, high level or conceptual model, low level or physical model, representational or implementational model, which is further classified into hierarchical, network, and relational model. Okay, so first one, we are going to discuss the first one, high level or conceptual data model. Okay, it provides the concept that are close to the way many users perceive data. Okay, that is, it is a concept that the many users see how they see the data. In the same manner is the implementation, in the same manner is the high level or a conceptual model describes. Okay, how a user can see a data, that will be in a simple way. They will be having a graphical user interface or in the form of a table. Okay, so that is called a high level or conceptual model, which means that it is very easy to see, or it is very easy to view and manipulate the data in a high level or conceptual data. The main concept is there, means that the implementation details are hidden from the user, which means that the user does not need to know how the data is stored. They can just view the table. Suppose they are creating a student table, student database. So it will be in the form of tables. So those tables can be viewed by the user, and the user need not be aware about how this table is stored in the database, or what is the organizational structure and so on. That will be hidden from the user. Okay, so it provides the concept that are close to the data, where close to the way many users perceive data or many users view data. Okay, conceptual data models use the concepts such as it is having three concepts: entities, attributes, and relationship. Okay, so in a short way, we can say that high level or conceptual model means that the data is represented in the form of tables. That is the common way we can say. Okay, so that is why we are saying that data models use the concepts such as entities, attributes, and relationship. So what is an entity? What is an attribute? What is a relationship? Okay, let us see in detail. Entity. So entity is nothing but real world object or concepts such as an employee or a project from a mini world that is described in the database. So entity means we are going it will be a real world object or a concept. Okay, real world object. For example, we are going to create a student. So student is a real world entity. Okay, it is existing. It is actually existing in the real world. Employee is also a real world object. Okay, then project is also a real world object. Now attribute. What is attribute? Attribute is a property that describes the entity. For example, employee is an entity. I have told employee is an entity. So what will be its properties? Properties means employee number is a property, employee name is a property. Okay, employee salary is a property. So that is called attributes. So attribute represent some property of interest that describes an entity, or a property that describes an entity, such as employee name or salary. Okay, now relationship. Relationship exists between two tables. A relationship can exist if there are more than one tables are existing. A relationship among two or more entities or tables represent an association among the entities. So relationship is nothing but the association or connection between two entities or tables. For example, a work zone relationship between an employee and a project. So employee entity and works project entity, they are related using a relationship called work zone. So these three concepts can be explained with this figure. See here, this is an entity called employee. Okay, employee or employee table. This is another entity called project. So this is an entity. Entity is nothing but real world. As I said, that entity is a real world object. So employee is a real world object, project is a real world object. So attribute, what are attributes? Attributes are the properties that describe the entity. Okay, properties that describe an entity, it is called attribute. So this here in this entity employee, the attributes are employee number, employee name, salary, project number. These are the attributes. Okay, clear? In this entity project, so this is an entity project. Clear? In entity project we are having the properties or attributes: project number, project name, and a duration. Okay, now the third one is relationship. Relationship between the means that the association between these two tables or entities. This is one entity and this is another entity. So association between these two entities is called relationship. So here the association name is works on, which means that employee works on project. Okay, so employee works on project. So how we are connecting these two tables, how we are creating a relationship with these two entities? It is possible only if the two entities are having the same property. Look at here. Here it is having project number. Here also it is having project number. So using this common attribute, they are actually creating a relationship or a link. Okay, so relationship is nothing but a link or a connection with the or an association between two tables or two entities. Okay, so this is the concept of high level or conceptual data model. Clear? High level or conceptual data model. Okay, now representational. Second data model is representational or implementational data model. Okay, it provides a concept that may be understood by the end users but hides the way the data is organized within the computer. So it provides a concept that which may be understood by the every user but it hides the way the data is organized, which means that this representation model will give the representation of a data, but how this data has been stored, that will be hidden from the user. Okay, that organizational data will be hidden from the user. That is what is called a representation or implementation data model. It hides some details of data storage but can be implemented on the computer system. Okay, so it hides the details of the data, how this data is stored, that will be hidden from the user, but the data can be stored in the computer system. Clear? So this representational model or data model, this is the second type of model. Okay, this is the second type of model. Here it is again classified into three types: hierarchical data model, relational data model, and network data model. So what is this hierarchical model, relational model, and network model? Let us see in detail. So this is hierarchical model. So hierarchical model means the data is organized in the form of tree structures. So look at here. So here each of these nodes, so this can be called as nodes. So each of these nodes are called records. Okay, this is one record, this is another record, this is another record, this is another record. Okay, these records are arranged in the form of a tree. Okay, so this is the root node and this will be the child for this particular parent, and this is another child for this particular parent, which means that here, look at here, department. For each department they can have courses and students. For each courses they can have professors. Clear? So this is a tree structure. This is called a hierarchical model. So this hierarchical model is having certain restriction, which means that each parent can have many number of children, but a child can have only one parent. That is the restriction is given. Okay, so this is a child, he is having only one parent. This is also a child, which is having only one parent. This is also a child of this parent, which is having only one parent. Okay, that is the concept of hierarchical model. So here data is organized in a tree-like structure where nodes represent records. These are called nodes. So these nodes are records. Okay, records or data. And relationship is provided using edges. So these lines are called a relationship. So this record is having relationship with the course as well as the student. Okay, this department is having relationship with the course as well as student. Okay, now this course is having relationship with the professor. Clear? Okay, so this so these are called this is the root node, this is the child, and this is the child of this parent. Okay, and so on it goes. One of the rules of a hierarchical database is that a parent can have multiple children. A parent can have multiple children, but a child can have only one parent. Okay, a child can have only one parent. This child is having only one parent. This child is also having only one parent. Okay, for example, consider a database which represents an institutional department. A department has courses and students, and each course has professors. Okay, so department has courses and student. The department is having relationship with the courses and student. The student is having relationship with the professor. Okay, so this is a hierarchical model. So this is the restriction given in the hierarchical model. It is a tree-like structure. Okay, a child can have, a parent can have multiple children, but a child can have only one parent. Okay, so this is hierarchical model. So in order to relieve this restriction, they have provide another relaxed model, which is called a network model. So network model is not in the form of a tree, but it is in the form of a graph. So this is a graph-like structure. Okay, which means that every node can connect to each and every other nodes. Okay, so this node can connect to this node, this node, this node. Okay, so every node or every record can have a relationship with every other nodes or every other records. Okay, they don't have any restriction that a parent can have a child can have only a single parent. They can have multiple parents. Okay, so look at here, this node is having two parents, this one and this one. This is also having two parents, this one and this one. Okay, so such model is called network model. So every data is represented in a collection of records. So all these data is in the form of records. Okay, now these records are connected. They are having relationship in such a way that they uses the concept of graph. That is, each node can have relationship with any other nodes. Okay, all the nodes available. Clear? So database structure is like a graph. This is similar to hierarchical model and also provides a tree-like structure. Okay, it is also providing a tree-like structure, but what is the condition here? What is the relaxation here? However, a child is allowed to have more than one parent. A child is allowed to have more than one parent. That was not permitted in the hierarchical model. Clear? So this is called a network model. It is a more relaxed model compared to the hierarchical model. Okay, but in hierarchical model it was very difficult to access and all. Okay, difficult to store and all. But here it is very easy. Clear? Next concept is relational model. So relational model is the same concept that we have seen in the first data model, which is the high level or conceptual model, that is the entity relationship model. Okay, so here in relational model, the data is organized in the form of organized in two-dimensional tables called relations. So here the data will be stored in the form of tables. That is the simple way we can say. The data can be stored in the form of tables. That table is called relations. Okay, don't confuse it with the relationship. Relationship is another thing. Relationship is the association between the two or more tables. Relations mean table. Okay, so relations means table. That is why it is called a relational model. Relational model means the data or the data is organized in the form of tables called relations. A table or relations are related to each other. Okay, these tables there will be many tables. So all the tables have certain relationship or connection or association. Okay, now they are talking about the tables. Each row represents a record. So in this table, in a particular table, each row represents a record. So this is a table. So if this is a table, each row represents a particular record. This is the first record, second record, third record. Okay, like that. Each column represents a field or attribute. So what about the column? Column represents attributes or fields. Okay, so column represent attributes or fields. Clear? So this is the attribute of department. First attribute of department. This is the second attribute of department or field. Clear? A relational DBMS uses multiple tables to organize the data. Okay, so relational data model make use of multiple tables to represent database. Okay, so this is a database. This whole tables is a database. Okay, to store the details of a college, they have to college database. If they have to create the database of a college, they will be using different tables, many tables, and these tables will be connected. Okay, that connection is called a relationship. Clear? So the relational DBMS use multiple tables to organize the data. Relationship are used to link the various tables together. Okay, so this relationship is used to connect the different tables. So the department table and the professor table are connected using the department number. Okay, see here. So they are having association, department number, department and professor, by using the field called department number. Now this professor and course, professor relation or professor table and the course table or course relation is having the relationship, or they are connected using the attribute called course number. Okay, now here the student table and the course table, or the student relation or the course relation, is connected using the course number. Clear? So this is called relationship. Okay, so relationships are created using a field that uniquely identifies each record. So relationships are created using such field that can uniquely identify that particular record. So this is a unique field. This is also a unique field. Okay. Such fields are used to connect or to create the relationship. Okay. So relationships are created using the field that uniquely identifies the record. Okay. So this is called a relational model. Okay. Simply we can say that relational model means that we can represent data in the form of tables. Okay. Not only single table, multiple tables. In multiple tables, each row represent records, each column represent fields or attributes. Okay, and the tables can connect with each other through particular relationship. These relationships are created using field that uniquely identify each record. Clear? This is called a relational model. Okay, clear? So we have covered this much categories: high level and representational. Okay, high level model and representational model. Okay, and these three concepts we have covered. The last one is low level or physical data model. Okay, in here it is given in the second point, but we have already explained these 1 and 3. Now the end we are going to explain the low level or the physical data model. So low level or physical data model is the concept of representing the internal details also. Okay, it provides a concept that describes the details of how data is stored in the computer. Okay, this model is not only dealing with the data, but is also dealing with how the data is stored in the computer. That is also the main thing. Okay, so data models are generally meant for computer specialists, not for typical end user. So this model is actually meant for scientists or computer specialists or computer programmers. Okay, they want to know how this data is organized or how this data is stored and how we can easily access those data. So those things are handled by this low level or physical data model. Okay, so it describes how data is stored as files in the computer by representing informations such as, okay, what are the information it will be storing. Okay, what all the information it requires. Okay, first one is record format, in which format the data is stored. Record ordering, what is the order of storing the data. And access path, what is the location of the actual record and how we can access that, how we can go to that location, access the data. Okay, clear? So these are the three information that is dealing with the low level or physical data model. So low level or physical data model actually describes how data is stored in the database or on the files. Okay, database. And what all information for such thing, for describing how data is stored, they require three pieces of information. What all they? In what all format the record is stored. Record format, the record ordering, and the access path. Okay, so an access path is a structure that makes the search for a particular database record efficient. Okay, if we know the access path, we can easily get the location of that particular data, and also we can easily search that particular data from the database in an efficient manner. Okay, that is called the access path. Clear? So these are the three data models that we have to study. Okay, so these are the main three data models we have to study. So this is a very, very important concept you have to study in detail. Okay, so the data model, it is nothing but it is the collection of concepts that can be used to describe the structure of the database. That is called a data model. Okay, so data model is nothing but the concept that can be used to describe the structure of a database. So data model is classified into these three: one, high level or conceptual data model, low level or physical data model, and representational model. Representational model is further classified into three. Okay, so it is a sure question for your university question. So please make a note of it and study. Okay, thank you.